the little things that really did stick out to me, I'm sure there's a ton that didn't, but the little things that did stick out to me, I absolutely loved.
The entire city of Miami is celebrating.
I'm the new heavyweight champion of the world, and I don't even have a scratch on my face. Oh my goodness.
Cash on cash?
Why am I so pretty?
Drive-By Movies, you are watching
Fresh releases.
My name is James.
My name's Blaze.
And today we're checking out the new Amazon exclusive, One Night in Miami.
I wish I lived in America.
We have to be there for each other.
Heard everybody rich, all I gotta do is run, jump, kick. I'm a hit in your area. I done made it to America. I'm amazed at America. Welcome to America.
One Night in Miami is a fictional account of one incredible night where icons Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown gathered discussing their roles in the civil rights movement and cultural upheaval of the 60s. So as you said, James, this is a brand new film to Amazon Prime, and sometimes we're starved for films. I would say right now is about that time, but Amazon coming in clutch here, giving us a brand new movie, one that is highly talked about, one that people are estimating to maybe be in the Oscars conversation, which we can get into a little bit later. But first off, I think we should just kick this off. I'd love to know what you thought of the film, James.
Yeah, so every year we talk about what movies deserve the Oscar nomination, what stands out. And most of the movies that we usually like tend to get overlooked, which I get, but then there's also movies that I feel Oscar baity. Recently, I'd say The Imitation Game was one that just felt very Oscar bait like. And there's been other ones throughout the years too. And One Night in Miami, in my opinion, felt very Oscar bait like to me. I thought it was fine while watching it. I was entertained enough, but overall, after watching it and thinking about it more and more throughout the day, I was just yeah, this movie just had such a cool premise. It had the characters, but a lot was missing from it. There's a lot I can comment on as we get more into it, but yeah, just overall, I'd say disappointment and just very bland and just very okay.
I wouldn't say I was disappointed in this movie. I wasn't expecting a ton. I think a lot of people were really talking about this movie, or I was hearing a lot about it, and I don't think it was necessarily just the fact that people absolutely loved it or were so stoked or watched it or were excited for it. I think it was more just the fact that there isn't that many movies. So when a movie does come out, it's at least going to pop up onto your timeline, whether it's someone who watched it or just the press involved. A lot of this film seemed like the press that was kind of pushing this film, because there's not really a ton of things out. Really, my timeline is full of Promising Young Woman and One Night in Miami. And we'll have to get to Promising Young Woman another day. But for this film, I wouldn't say I was disappointed. I actually really enjoyed a lot of the character dynamics in this film, especially amongst the cast, because it's such a small cast, really just these four characters kind of in a room. I think the film suffers just at the fact that it feels very much like a play, and this is based on a play, but it's similar to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which we talked about, where there are great performances in this movie, but it just suffers in the fact that it doesn't feel cinematic enough, but it's an actor's movie. So there's a lot of things to enjoy in this movie, but a lot of it is going to stem on the writing, the acting, the directing. I think all those things are really top notch in this movie. But when it comes to this movie visually and cinematically, it just is a little bit more bland than I would have wanted, especially with a title like One Night in Miami. It conjures images of palm trees and just cool neon lights, especially in the 60s, stuff that I wish that they could have capitalized in this movie. But I don't think storytelling purposes, those things would have applied, really showing off that kind of stuff. But yeah, I wasn't totally disappointed in this movie. I think we can get a little bit further into it though.
Yeah. Cinematography wise, we've gotten some great movies from Florida recently, like Moonlight and The Florida Project. Movies Florida is very grunge and stuff, and of course Miami, they're going for more sense of elegance with this movie. I actually didn't know that it was based off a play, and it kind of felt like it with it taking place kind of within a hotel for most of the movie at least, and so it makes sense. But after thoroughly enjoying Ma Rainey's Black Bottom just a few weeks ago, And I know that those are based off of true characters in that movie, but it didn't feel like they were going over the top or like trying to impersonate the person. I can't speak on that though, just because I don't know too much about Ma Rainey's music, and then the other characters, like the character that Chadwick Boseman was playing. But with this movie, we all know Malcolm X so well. I know Muhammad Ali so well, he was just one of these icons that I worshipped as a kid and stuff. I wrote a paper on him in my freshman year of high school. And then, of course, Jim Brown we also got, as well as Sam Cooke. There's a lot of huge icons within this movie. But it felt like, especially with Muhammad Ali, or, before he became Muhammad Ali, he's playing Cassius Clay technically. I thought it just felt very impersonating, as well as the guy playing Kingsley Ben Deere playing Malcolm X. I just felt like it felt too much of an impression. What was the movie, The Theory of Everything? I forget that actor's name, but that just felt like it's impressions technically. Great job capturing their ego and their sense of mannerisms and stuff, but bring some of your own stuff to it. I always feel and there's some movies and some where actors do that so much better. And this movie, I just felt like I was just watching guys just impersonating them technically.
I can kind of see where you're getting at. I wouldn't totally agree. I did think that Kingsley Ben-Adir did a great job doing Malcolm X. Honestly, because I didn't know who he was as an actor beforehand, I did honestly feel like he was literally just Malcolm X when I was watching the movie. So that was one thing for me. I can kind of see maybe for Cassius Clay so much. I think the casting with Eli Gore was really good because he looks very similar to him, at least in this film. So maybe he does kind of feel more like a impersonation, or someone kind of impersonating these characters that are really larger than life. I mean, you have the whole premise of the movie is these 4 larger than life characters in a room kind of discussing their involvements in the civil rights movement. And I think that's something for me that I actually really enjoyed about this movie, was just the fact that it's a civil rights movie that's very different from the civil rights movies that we are used to. We're used to stuff like Selma, where it's this huge, it's not a huge movie, but it's a movie that's leading up to one giant scene where it's the Selma March, where this is just very kind of small in a room. It's a movie in a room, essentially, with 4 larger than life characters, but really discussing their involvement, how they are coping with the civil rights movement, and what they're doing to be activists. You have someone like Malcolm X, who is very, we have to get out here and fight for what we believe in. And then you have somebody like Sam Cooke, who fights in his own way. But I think one of my favorite things about the movie was just the conversations between Malcolm X and Sam Cooke, where they were having what are you doing for the civil rights movement? You're still just performing in these rooms that you're really not even allowed to be in, essentially.
Absolutely. The best moments of the movies, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that those scenes were just so telling. They were well acted. I think really it was the writing that was amazing, but I don't know how much that differed from the actual play. It's the same writer that co-directed and co-wrote Soul. This was his play from 2013, One Night in Miami, wow. And he, wrote this film. I think he, rewrote the screenplay to be adapted. I'm not positive though, so it might be the exact same script for the play, but I would have think that they probably would have wrote it in a screenplay at least, but the dialogue might be the same is kind of what I'm getting at. So I thought that dialogue was really strong between these characters, all the dynamics of all these different characters that are in such different points in their life and such different mechanisms that they're using to cope with the harsh reality of the civil rights movement and just how it was to be Black in America at that time. So I thought that this film, just for me, is just it wasn't so much enjoyable. It was such a different civil rights movie that we usually get, to where this is a very quiet film. So I think that a lot of the small little minute details are going to really wash over people, and maybe they won't be picked up on so much, and maybe you can't appreciate them so much, where the little things that really did stick out to me, I'm sure there's a ton that didn't, but the little things that did stick out to me, I absolutely loved. So yeah, I really like the film, but I don't know if it's gonna go on any of my top 10 lists or any of that stuff for the year. For me, the year's not over yet. I'm gonna probably extend it to March at least at this point. So
Yeah, I mean, we're still getting movies that like were supposed to come out like 2 years ago. I feel like at this point that we're just barely coming out like right now and stuff. And like, yeah, there's so many movies that are still on our list. And it's just weird to think that the Academy Awards are next month. Like the Super Bowl is literally coming up and stuff. And just the idea that that continued and I haven't been paying attention to the NFL, like it's crazy to me. But, you know, we're in the Oscar season right now. So like, of course, like, you know, these streaming services is where we're turning our heads to right now. So what is going to get nominated? And, you know, I could see why this movie is like still is a lot better than a lot of the other movies we've checked out throughout the year. It's been a hard year for fresh releases. But yeah, I was just very disappointed. I thought like there's just like been better movies and I expected more using such big icons of our time and stuff. And like, you know, is that like, you know, it's nothing against like some of the actors. Like I know I brought down like Kingsley who played Malcolm X and stuff, but like he still nailed it. But like, you know, I just had my problems with like some of the characters and stuff and or like their performances essentially.
Yeah, you're more of a Denzel guy when it comes to Malcolm X.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah,
and Denzel's one of the greatest living actors, so there were huge shoes to fill in this movie.
You know, like I've seen lots of clips with like Malcolm X, of course, but like, you know, I just thought like, you know, like there were times I was like, is he actually doing like the Malcolm X thing or is Kingsley doing the Denzel Washington thing right now?
There's big shoes to fill.
Yeah,
anyways,
big
guys,
shoes to fill.
Yeah, that is going to sum up this fresh releases. If you want to check out One Night in Miami, it's actually available on Amazon Prime if you have that service. If not, I'm pretty sure you can rent it there. So check the Amazon affiliate link in the description box below.
Yeah, after doing that, leave a comment letting us know what you thought about the movie. The best way to help us out also is by smashing that like button. And if you haven't, if you're loving our videos, you know, subscribe and hit that notification bell to get our latest updates.
And we're new to TikTok, Instagram, whatever, or maybe we're not new, whatever. We have accounts on those. Go ahead, subscribe, follow, do whatever, hit the like button, smash that shit. Anyways, guys, tune in next week for our brand new fresh releases.